Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Haberman. I'm one of the directors here at Summit to See Consulting, specializing in everything from budget analytics to RPA implementations, all across our both DoD and civilian clients. So excited to be here today to talk more about our experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And now we'll turn it over to Victor for a brief introduction.
Hi, I'm Victor Zudetsky. I'm CTO of Enica Systems. I'm also a veteran in software development, automation, and cloud implementations. Having driven many automations implementations within federal government, I also worked on many solutions to help agencies to innovate and at the same time address challenges of implementation such as integration, scalability, governance, compliance, lifecycle management, and many others. In my role today in Inca Systems, I work on alignment of our tech investments with customer priorities, and as such, I drive innovation into programs to help our customers with their digital transformation journey. And it's really great to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. So to set the stage with regards to AI in public sector, we've seen this to be the natural evolution of many automation programs at both a micro level as well as like at a macro level for the industry. At a micro level, many public sector agencies that started with simple rules-based automation a few years back and have realized tremendous value in their programs are now moving into more advanced automations that often require AI and ML to solve those increasingly complex challenges. At a macro level, this is where the industry is moving towards too. The UiPath platform that in many ways was a golden standard to help organizations with rules-based repetitive automation tasks has constantly evolved over the past few years to make AI and ML more of a central theme. So when we talk about AI, and specifically AI in public sector, we talk about its application across four broad pillars. The first pillar is visual understanding. And this has in many ways been the central theme of our automation technology, which is how do we intelligently recognize the metadata about the applications that you're trying to automate so that one, we are able to eliminate any automation blind spots. But more importantly, number two is like, how do we promote resiliency of this automation so that they'll always work? The second pillar is document understanding. A lot of public sector agencies are struggling with paper-based processes, like you're aware. So how can we apply the latest advancements in AI and ML to help with understanding what is in these documents so that we can automate the end-to-end process? These documents can be structured, semi-structured, sometimes scanned images, sometimes handwritten documents, etc. So it's really important to have like an AI and ML-based platform that can eliminate any of those automation blind spots. And then the third pillar is conversational understanding, which is now getting into natural language processing and a more conversational AI so that we can intelligently automate tasks such as emails, we can implement chatbots, provide additional communication channels to citizens, etc. And then the fourth pillar is called process understanding, which is how can we apply AI and machine learning models to uncover the complex process details that exist in these massive public sector agencies. Now, there is a misconception that public sector is behind on this whole AI curve, whereas in reality, public sector agencies are actively pursuing multiple AI use cases and are now pushing their automation programs to evolve into using more of this end-to-end UiPath business automation platform type of mindset. So we will talk about two examples in public sector today. We will start with Jeff. So Jeff, like you recently embarked on this journey to enable a very effective document-based AI ML use case. Can you describe the problem statement to us at a high level and like how you realized you needed to move from basic RPA 101 to more of an intelligent automation and with AI and ML type of a mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. So similar to what you were talking about earlier with understanding the manual processes of whether it be PDFs, hard copies, that was our kind of our use case with one of our clients, with, particularly within invoices and purchase orders that were coming in and needing to process those through the financial systems. So as is today, there was a lot of manual intervention in terms of opening an inbox, scraping the details from that actual PDF, understanding if it met the business rules in order to go into the financial system. And if not, there was a lot of investigation on the analyst point that needed to be done. So that was our main use case for automating, and we were able to on our first of our journey, we took the standard features that came out of the box with UiPath. So using Studio, the OCR recognition to taking an anchor-based approach to grab the data from each one of the PDFs that were coming through various agencies and then processing those through our financial system. What we found with taking the out-of-the-box features was that there was only a 54% success rate. Given that we have our failing grade here, we needed to make improvements in order to be successful for our customers. So embarked on a journey to implement document understanding, and then really from being able to build the models and build the templates that document understanding comes with, we were able to take that 54% and turn that into 99.5% success rate by being able to take that unstructured data, put it into a structured data element, and then process those individual records appropriately.
Thank you, Jeff. Again, like the comment you made about improving from 55% to 99%, that again aligns with the theme of how do we use AI and ML to eliminate automation blind spots. So document-based intelligent automation requirements are coming up a lot, like Jeff mentioned. However, there are a lot more AI ML use cases that are outside document processing. And now to you, Victor, like you recently embarked on this AI prototype for a large federal agency that involved text-to-speech analysis. Can you describe like the high-level problem statement and how you realized you needed to move from basic RPA to AI ML-based intelligent automation mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I want to start with just overview of some of the recent breakthroughs that enabled us to achieve what we've done. And there is certainly the growth of AI-based capabilities that we've seen in recent years reaching human parity, right? We see voice generation and understanding, character recognition, language understanding, and many others. You probably noticed, like even your personal assistants, such as Siri, right, recently became much better in understanding voice commands and dictation, and actually speaking in pretty much natural voice. So that kind of like what started us thinking about the art of possible in the first place. As for the use case, it was a perfect example for just that. So we had an agency that had a task of converting documents into audio files to enable vision impaired recipients to receive the information. And in the old process, they had to use a third-party vendor to record audio files, and then these files were shipped on a physical CDs. So just think about all of the logistic necessary and the data exchange. It was a pretty complicated process. And it was taking days, right, to get those recordings back to the agency. So we started first thinking about how we can extract these documents. And as a company, we worked with many industry-leading on-premise and cloud OCR platforms in the past. And we found that UiPath's document understanding framework was really leading the list. From our experience, document understanding with UiPath was able to provide us the highest accuracy among many commercial OCRs. So that's why we selected that as our foundational piece for this automation to handle document extraction, as well as the orchestration of the overall process. So once we were able to extract the data from the files, we also leveraged several of cloud-based technologies to enable us to complete the rest of the work. For the text-to-speech generation, we used Google Voice, Google Text-to-Speech, and that pretty much solved the problem of the automation of audio file creation process. But the agency also needed to perform quality control of the audio files with their own staff to ensure that there is no discrepancies in the content. And that was also a very tedious and time-consuming process, as their QC team had to listen for hours and hours of audio files just looking for some of the misspoken words or words or other potential issues. To automate this part, we needed to figure out how we can compare the audio files back to the original document. So we selected an Azure Voice Cognitive Service to solve this step. And now we were able to achieve two text files, one extracted from the original, another extracted from the voice file. And now they're really easy to compare. And we can identify the discrepancies with the algorithms, and also that allowed us to quantify the number of issues and types of issues and automate the decision points, whether the quality is acceptable or do we need to bring human in the loop to do the manual check. And that was already a much easier process. Also, now we're seeing some of the cases where we can make just a complete data-driven decision that the file doesn't actually need validation, right, if we do not see any discrepancies. So I think it was really exciting use case.
Awesome. And these types of complex AI projects, they often involve the careful integration of multiple tools and technologies. For example, you mentioned Azure Cognitive Services, right? So in your experience, how easy was integrating all of this multiple tools and technologies with the UiPath platform?
Yeah, I mean, we had to integrate a few tools, and certainly had to have a diverse team that has experience with them. But integration itself was not that complicated. I mean, we had to write a couple lines of code in Python and .NET to wrap up these calls around the cloud-native APIs. And the choice of language was really based on our current skills in the team, because we were focusing on the speed of results on this effort. From UiPath side, we used UiPath Studio to develop the bot itself and the workflow logic. We also used a couple of the orchestrated features, such as queues to manage the file uploads, handling and processing, and assets to securely store credentials for external services, such as Azure subscription credentials and some of the API keys. We also leverage UiPath integration service, which is the component of UiPath's platform that really makes an automation of third-party applications much easier. So essentially, it helps us to standardize authorization and authentication, and helped us to manage API connections and establish this connection with the cognitive service. One other thing, I mean, we're always trying to use modular approach for all of the development, so that allows us to easily switch modules and replace functionality with a different provider. For that particular effort, we were planning from the very beginning that in the future, we may want to switch different providers for either voice generation or voice recognition, so we can always achieve the best results and leverage the best available vendor at a time. Azure integration was actually pretty simple. UiPath has this activity called Azure Scope that helped us to connect to Azure Compute Services and control all of the workflow with them. So that's pretty much it. As I said, it was not complicated from UiPath side of the house.
That's awesome to know. And on a similar note of complexity, we have all lived through implementing systems in this highly complex, highly secure DoD networks and all the operational challenges that come with it. So a question for you, Jeff, is how hard was it to get like the end-to-end platform installed and configured in such a controlled environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, a lot of complexity in terms of gathering the right groups of folks together to be able to get on the same page in terms of what the goal is, what the mission is, in order to get the application installed. So, having the right either system administration that have the Linux experience, you have the DBAs that are helping you set up all of the necessary artifacts. Getting the right people in the room and really following the cadence of following all the paperwork, policies, procedures that need to be put in place in order to adhere to the highly complex and highly secure environments that we work in. So I'd say that the bigger struggle in terms of outside of having the right group of people involved is just the actual communication that needs to happen. So making sure that when one party is complete with their responsibilities, the other one is following suit and continuing on to continuously rapidly grow the program and grow the development that we have. So certainly has its obstacles along the way, but overall, as having all those things in place it makes it for a seamless implementation.
Thanks for that. And that also speaks to the varied skill sets needed on the team, right? So for anyone that's embarking on this journey, like what would your advice be in terms of what are the skill sets needed? How does the team need to be structured? For example, you mentioned Linux, which is a different skill set than what we've needed in the past. But that's just an example, right? Like, so what would your recommendation or like advice be for like new teams that are starting in terms of team structures and skill sets needed?
Yep, absolutely. So you hit it on the head there. Having a dedicated Linux admin to be able to execute the actual implementation. So you have your dev staging environment. You also have your multi-node environment in production. So having a dedicated resource to take those activities, as well as having a dedicated development team on the studio side that can both do Python as well as the overall the development within the document understanding framework, building the templates out, building the models out, whether it be 1 to 3 people or if you're scaling to a larger product or team aspect, making sure that the dedicated resources are at least within the DBA sector. You have your database from a Microsoft standpoint as well. And then you also have your orchestrator from a system admin side. So having the Windows experience on that side of the house as well. So those three are definitely needed in order to have a successful implementation.
Got it. And then just a follow-up question on that. Is there like an ideal team size? Like, would we have like a team size of like admins, developers, and project managers to start on like a project like how you did? Like, how large was your team to do this?
Yeah, I would say at least having a dedicated size of 4. One Linux admin, one orchestrator, system admin, one developer, and then one business analyst. So you're able to bring that whole group together from a functional standpoint as well as a technical standpoint. Again, so that everybody, roles and responsibilities are taken care of, and you're able to both, work in parallel as the technical team is standing up the infrastructure, as the business analyst is also conducting the requirements at that point in time. So you're really minimizing the overall time spent with the team. And in order, once the lights get flipped on from an infrastructure standpoint, you're able to hit the ground running from the studio development and the overall complexity there as well.
Got it. Thank you so much. So we spoke about the use cases at a high level, so the need for AI and ML based intelligent automation. We also spoke about like the process for like developing this, installing this, and configuring this. Now, moving over to the value realization side. Question for you, Victor, is measuring ROI for like traditional RPA is fairly straightforward, right? You just like measure it based on how much effort you save. However, when we talk about like AI and ML, there's like a lot more value drivers than like the typical R save. For example, in your case, it could be compliance. It could just be that the customer, like the federal agency, was never able to get to so many audio files, etc. So, can you talk about like your experience about what the anticipated value that this large federal agency will potentially realize?
Thanks, Pradeep. So I think generally there is same approach for the ROI, right, and the value return. Because at the end, we automating the processes and trying to save time and budgets and essentially improve the quality. So we're looking for the similar outcomes. It's just with AI and ML technology, right? There is new opportunities for automation that were not even considered before. So for that particular effort, I mean, there was a prototype, so we didn't really do the ROI analysis. I can only speak theoretically. But nevertheless, the outcomes of the prototype showed huge opportunity for the process improvement. So as I mentioned, the current process for creating those audio files involving the use of third-party vendor to produce them. And the complicated logistics with actual mailing on physical CDs. So you have to manage shipping and billing and vendor relationships and many other things. Now, with the implementation of the voice generation with cognitive services, right, based on the document extraction, we seen the improve from multiple days process with complicated logistics to almost immediate results. In a matter of minutes, we can have those files available. And that, of course, also opens other opportunities that maybe they can be sent via email and delivered with the new digital ways to the end recipients. So that's outside of that prototype. Another improvement we've seen on the QC side. So same thing right now, the current process has a lot of manual labors requiring the QC team to listen to hours and hours of these files, looking for these discrepancies. What automation helped us to do is essentially, first of all, to visualize and identify those discrepancies automatically. So now the QC team can see right away how many discrepancies are there in the files and where they are. So now they can focus on just those pieces that require human attention instead of just blindly going over and over all of the content. That also helped us to visualize the metrics, right? So we can understand if file needs to be reviewed at all, or maybe the quality is good enough so we can kind of like set a threshold and automate when we involve human in the loop, and when we can just make a decision, then based on this analysis, the file is good enough to go directly to the recipients. So same thing, we're talking from hours and hours of manual labor to probably just a few minutes per file that is needed for human interactions. So overall, I think there's it's multiplier, right, on the amount of time and effort that automation can save to the customer.
Thank you very much, Victor. And Jeff, how about you? Right, like, can you talk about like the value that this federal agency derived from this AI ML based automation?
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of our overall ROI, we took a look at to be able to process one of these documents from inception to implementation into our financial system. It's taking anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes for the analyst to digest all that data and then make the decision on whether or not it needs to go into the system. We were able to take that from 15 minutes to 3 minutes. So being able to condense that time, and these are happening hundreds of transactions, a day, a month, depending on the volume of the fiscal year. We're able to fluctuate that ROI up and down, and really allow those customers to continue to add benefit in other areas. So it's certainly been a success for our agency, and we look to incorporate and scale what we've done thus far into other processes that we can take, reuse some of the code that we've already built, and then apply those in different areas that are applicable.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Now, Victor, back to you. To close it out, can you share some best practices or lessons learned for others that are embarking on a similar journey?
Absolutely. So that particular use case showed some new ways for us how to use cognitive services and really help to automate complex processes that we didn't think about it. So the real lesson learned, and probably more of the thought reinforcement, was that we have to constantly and continuously keep looking for opportunity to automate and thinking out of the box. And also follow the technology trends to really understand where the new ways are available to solve the new problems. And part of that is really ensuring that innovative culture and motivated employees across our team are reinforced and encouraged, right? Making sure that every thought, every contribution is considered and every team member is engaged in this process. Another thing is really the need to have an environment for our teams to experiment with technology, so they can have this firsthand understanding what is the art of possible and being able to quickly build different prototypes to prove their ideas. We have innovation lab in Enica Systems that is available for all of our employees and our customers, and it helps them learn new technology and validate ideas, and that really what drives a lot of them to our customers. And I guess finally, also always think about end-to-end automation, because that essentially you will have to be in the way when you have to bring your prototype to production, right? And if you didn't automate all the pieces, that will be extensive lift to do all of that in preparation for your prod environment. And from another side, also most of the solutions today are comprehensive, meaning that you have to integrate many pieces together. It's no longer that one technology can solve the entire use case. So always think about reusability of the modules. So whatever automations you've done, right, you can package them so they can be reused across multiple different projects or efforts, and that really helps to scale up your automation capabilities.
Thank you very much for that, Victor. And now, Jeff, turning it to you to close this out, like, what would you advise other agencies that are going to start on a similar journey of like document-based AI processes?
Yeah, I'll echo what Victor said, is having the environments ready for your teams to go forth and conquer in. We were able to work with our respective IT organizations and spin up those necessary environments for both, whether it be the orchestrator, the AI center, and all the dev, test, and environments. We're able to scale out after we proved out our prototypes, built the necessary ROI that was required, and move forward from there. So without having the back end, without having the support from the whole team involved, you can have one champion running one way, but not having the full group along with you, which will cause obviously delays in terms of implementation and overall success. So I would certainly say build it, start small, prove out those use cases, build confidence in what you're doing, and being able to show the value. And we're doing it here at one small scale. Look what we can do from larger scale if we continue on with this path. So that would be my final recommendation, is in order to scale and grow, show that initial value, and bring everybody along the way.
And thank you very much for that, Jeff. Thank you so much, Victor and Jeff, for participating in this discussion. We hope everyone that attended this session found this helpful. You got to hear firsthand some use cases about, for example, in Victor's case, how do you eliminate automation blind spot? In Jeff's case, how do you use AI and ML to improve the accuracy of automation? So please reach out to us if you have any other questions, any other ideas about like public sector and like AI in general. We hope you found this session helpful. If you just want to stay back for the product deep dives, that'd be great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.